Hi, Karen. Happy Halloween to you.
Happy Halloween to you, Katie. I feel like we should have been in costumes for this recording.
Oh my gosh, you're so right. Well, we can just be in costumes in our mind.
That's exactly right. I might have some devil horns in my
I,
desk.
I was just thinking I should have devil horns on. We should just have matching devil horns at some point.
Great.
Or maybe I'll be wearing a unicorn onesie next time. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, I have a lot of them. So,
oh my God. Wait, you have more?
well, that's not entirely true. I have one unicorn onesie and then I have one that is a blow up unicorn costume. So I guess that doesn't really count as a onesie, but I have a lot of unicorn situations happening
Yeah.
in my house.
Wearable unicorn apparatuses.
Yes, exactly. Yes. I have apparati that like no, that's not a word. But like yes, I am very pro unicorn in this house. And I also have witch costumes. Well, actually that's not true. One witch costume. Anyway, yeah. So
Yeah,
I'm very excited for today. How are you
I
feeling about
know.
Halloween? Are you dressing up?
So just to go back for a second, I do want to get you like a bumper sticker that says I'm pro unicorn and I vote.
Yes.
Coming soon to a merch store near you, everyone. I am so this is a Wednesday. We are recording, of course, the Wednesday before Halloween. I am going to like a very low-key Halloween
Okay.
situation on Friday. So I'm thinking about dressing up as a crazy cat lady.
Yes. Oh my gosh, wait, what would that entail? I have ideas, but I'm so interested in
Oh
what
my
your thoughts
gosh.
are.
So I got this idea from a coworker who did it a really long time ago, and she actually went and bought. So she's done it twice. Once she was the crazy cat lady, and then I think once she was a crazy cat.
Oh,
And for her crazy cat costume, she literally went and bought one of those collars, you know, when you put on like an animal that like when it can't like it's not supposed to move its head,
oh,
kind of
oh
like the
yeah.
cone of
Oh, the
shame.
cone. Yes.
Yes, she wore that on.
I mean, that's funny. That's dedication to a
I
theme.
know. I so I'm not going that far. I think for my crazy cat lady, I have an alarming amount of cat and big cat related print clothing, as it turns out.
Perfect.
So
Perfect.
yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna go. That's amazing. That sounds like the perfect costume. I am going to be in Salt Lake City this weekend, and then I come home at noon on Halloween day. And so I think I'll probably just throw on my blow up unicorn costume just because for, simplicity's sake. Um, but I love dressing up. Like I really, really, I used to have this T-Rex costume that I used to love so much that was a blow up thing. And like I really want to be one of those people this year that just walks to the mailbox in my T-Rex costume. And by mailbox,
Yes.
it's like in the middle of my neighborhood. It's like one of those mailbox banks things. Like you have to
Oh,
walk by like 5 houses to get to the mailbox. And so like I just casually, no irony whatsoever. Like just like, not wave at
yes.
anyone, just like what? Is there something noticeable about me,
Yes. I so want this for you. Yes.
I need Tyler to take some pics. This really is a real goal of mine. So I'll get back to you on that when it
Yes.
starts snowing.
Oh my God. So this is our third. Is it right that this would be our third Halloween
This is
episode?
our third yes. How wild is that? I was actually laying in bed last night and I was like, wait, are we in the third year of this podcast? And the truth is yes. Which
Yes.
I mean, I don't know. It's the weirdest thing, Karen, because time is such an illusion during this time or just in general, I guess. But like I don't I don't feel like tired, I guess. That's
No.
no, I don't feel like, oh God. Like I hope you don't feel that way.
I do not. And I am just waiting for us to hit the big time for Spotify to be like, oh, we want you to be one of our marquee podcasts.
Yes, and we'll pay you $60 million
Yes.
to just for the rights of the name. And we'd be like,
Correct.
we'll negotiate, but thanks.
We'll get back to you.
Yeah, we'll get back to you, our people. We'll get back to you. So yes, but yeah, third Halloween. You're right. I don't remember what we did for the other two though. Do you?
No. Not at all. Not
Not,
even a little bit.
not even. I couldn't even. No.
No. And I know we didn't do this topic. I was trying to remember. I'm mentioning it because I'm trying to remember if I've talked about my also deep love of Halloween and the many,
No.
many Halloween related shenanigans I've had over the years.
Oh, I'm so interested. Please tell me. Because no, I actually don't even think, I think all of our Halloween episodes might have been like, hey, happy Halloween. Let's talk about our feelings. Like, that's it.
Yeah, right.
Like, there's like, there's been no focus on the actual holiday. So it's about damn time, as we were talking about Lizzo a minute
Ooh.
ago. So call back. Anyway, but yeah, oh, tell me everything. I'm so interested.
I so good parts version is that like I've won a number of bar costume contests.
Have you really?
I have indeed. And unfortunately, the prize when you win a bar costume contest is a bar tab. So the costume contest is at like midnight. I'm already drunk. My friends and I are already drunk. And now you've given us like a $150 bar tab. Yeah.
Oh
What do
my
I
God, that
win?
sounds like fun.
I know.
I mean, it's like, but your friends would be so much even happier than they already are to be your friend on that night. That sounds amazing.
I know. So
Yeah.
both of these were ensemble costumes.
Okay.
So one I won with, and listeners, if I've told this story before, just be like, oh my God. One I won with a group of friends. We were a shotgun wedding.
What?
Yeah. I was a pregnant bride. I found a hideous wedding dress at Goodwill
Oh
and
God.
had a pillow in my belly. My girlfriend at the time, my girlfriend at the time, I forgot what she was wearing. Maybe a terrible tuxedo.
Nice.
My friend Pamela was Paw, so was wearing these ridiculous overalls. Like was my dad with the shotgun.
Oh, got it. Okay. Like,
Yeah,
yes, got it.
yes. So I'm the pregnant bride. Pamela's my paw with. Oh my God, she got way into this character. By the way,
Did not break character, full on method.
yes, exactly. Kept yelling, "Come here, my daughter!" like all night. And Summer, her now wife, was the minister.
Oh my gosh. So wait, did
Yeah.
you walk around like did people immediately get it? Or like how did this
I think the shotgun helped.
Oh wait, so it was like you had a fake shotgun with you.
I believe that yes, Pamela had a fake shotgun. And oh my God, this is all coming back to me now. And also had this like dirty deck of playing cards that
Yes.
she was handing out to people. Oh my God, yeah. We went way in on this one. So that one won.
Okay,
And
that's so awesome though. I hope you have photos of this. Do you have pictures of these?
I swear I've told this story because our photo was on that bar's website for like 10 years.
No, it was not. Oh my gosh, if you have, I have amnesia. I do not remember this story. That's amazing. Wait, is this a bar in Chicago? What is the name of the bar?
Oh yeah. I will not say the name.
Okay.
It fell into disgrace because their owner turned out to be a terrible human and it
Oh.
has since closed. But yeah, no, my picture was on our photo was on that bar's website for at least a decade after that
Oh
party.
my gosh, that's amazing. That's amazing. And you got a $150 bar tab.
Oh yeah. Or maybe $50. I mean, whatever. Inflation. This was a long time ago. So maybe it was 50 and felt like 150. I don't know.
I mean, it would have been a little better if they just gave you a wad of cash.
This
But,
is what I'm saying.
tomato, tomato.
And then quickly, the second one, my ex and I went as she dressed up as an Occupy protester.
Nice.
So she made a bunch of signs about like capitalism. And then I had on like a faux mink coat and like long gloves and big fake jewelry. And I had a sign that said, I'm the 1% bitches.
Nice. Wait, you won another bar tab with that one?
Yes.
Wait, at the same bar?
No, a different bar.
Oh my God. Seriously, Karen, this this is amazing.
Yeah,
This is amazing. Okay, so hold on. I have some questions, logistical. So when you're at the bar and there is, there's going to be a costume contest and you walk in and it's so clear that you are obviously the winner. Then is there like a podium? Do they have an announcer? Is there an MC? Like what happens? Like how do they decide? And also are there votes? Like do people just cheer? Like I have so many questions. I've never been to a bar costume contest for Halloween before.
So I will say these are all very good questions. And I will say that after Pride, I would say that Halloween is like gay Christmas. It's like
Oh,
queer Christmas. Like the gays love Halloween.
That makes so much sense to me because when I was in San Francisco, the Castro district, which is the gay district of town, it was the biggest
Oh
night
yeah.
of the year. I mean, other than Pride, like it was like if you were in San Francisco, you're going to the Castro. Like that's just where you go. Like there's no other, not even, there's no comparison.
Oh yeah. Exactly. And Boys Town here, not called Boys Town anymore, North Halsted, I guess, as it's officially known now, has like a giant parade. And they have like the family friendly version of the parade earlier. And then, of course, the like non family friendly version of the parade. But I mean, some of those people are like planning costumes a year ahead of time and building these costumes a year ahead of time.
That's
It's incredible.
impressive.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, costume contests at a lesbian bar at the time involved probably cheering. Definitely, we had to enter the costume contest. Like entrance, if you'd like to enter the costume contest, come to the front of the bar. Yes, there was a microphone and an announcer. And I think I don't, was it cheering or did the bar decide? I just remember in my head, I just remember how funny it was having them say, and the winner is the 1%. And I was like, yeah, you know,
The rest of the bar is like, wait, oh, nope, that's a costume. Okay, we can cheer. Like,
yeah, yes, exactly. And all with things in my house, by the way, all like costume jewelry and ridiculous stuff already like that was in my house.
did you have a mink coat just sitting around?
A faux, yes, a faux like leopard. Ooh, I can wear that with my crazy cat lady costume.
Oh my gosh, there you go. There you go.
Oh my God.
Okay, I have so much respect for you, Karen, for so many reasons, but this is being one of the biggest ones because like I do not think of this kind of stuff. Like I like buy costumes, but I don't think of these super creative ideas. I mean, the shotgun wedding, come on. Come
So
on.
inspired. Yeah, no, it was good. It was really funny.
That's so good. That's so good. Did you dress up when you were a kid also? Was Halloween big?
Yes, but I do think I had store-bought costumes. So I think one year, I don't know, I decided I made up this character Buffy from Idaho.
Wait,
I
wait,
don't know.
what?
Yeah, I don't. Wow.
Okay, wait, hold on a second. Back up. So, who's Buffy from Idaho? How did Buffy get created? Is Buffy a person or is Buffy like an animal or
I, Katie, it's all buried in the banks of my memory. All I remember is this character I created. And I kept walking around all day announcing that I was Buffy from Idaho. And unfortunately, I had a Southern accent because I think at the time I did not know where Idaho was.
do you have pictures of what you were wearing? Do you remember what you were wearing?
Oh, I think it was another like, I'm just going to put on a bunch of clothes I have in my house.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Wow. That's amazing. That's so
Yeah.
amazing. My favorite costume as a kid was being I was Jasmine from Aladdin, and it was this hot pink like costume, like kind of it was like it would have like been a costume for that show. But my grandmother made it for me, and it was like satin, and it was so fancy, and I think I wore it until I was too old to be out for
Oh,
Halloween. I'm pretty sure she made it for me when I was like 7, and I wore it for like 6 years. Like it was
oh
like
my God.
it did not fit after a while, but it was really beautiful. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I also went trick-or-treating way too late. I just couldn't let it go. As the oldest, I was like, well, my brother and sister are going trick-or-treating. Why can't I go? And then people would open it the door and they'd be like, Katie, you're 16. Like you have a job. Like what
Right, exactly. You
you can
drove here.
you drove here. You can buy your own candy bar. Yeah, tragic.
This is a hashtag seamless segue, though,
Yes.
in the sense of so this is both about witches, listeners, and about our obsession with the history of Halloween and the history of trick or treating.
Fascinating. Oh my gosh. Take it away, Karen. You've done more research than I have, but this is amazing. I had no idea.
So, listeners, I was up from 4 to 7 a.m. today and went down a Halloween rabbit hole. So, apparently, in Ireland, I believe this is, right? So, the religion in Ireland at the time believed that around harvest time, the veil between the living and the dead also kind of dissipated, also kind of fell away, and that the dead would come and visit. And I think both the like honorable dead and the dishonorable dead. And the idea of trick or treating is that like you would try to distract the ghosts from coming to your house. So you would either like trick them to get them to go away if they were a bad ghost, or give them treats if they were a good ghost. I think I have this right.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sure somebody's going to text me if I have this wrong, but you think about the concept of like people legit believing like, oh, okay, the dead are going to be with us, and like us sending our children out into the streets to get candy. Like how that turned into that, I don't know.
I mean, it's so fascinating. Like what you found from Norfolk State University, that's exactly what it says. It's like they would dress up like the scary things, like to keep the actual hide from the evil things because they would blend in. Like that's so weird. But then it's like all it says is that like in the 20th century, these traditions became trick or treating. I'm like, wait, I have a lot of questions. That doesn't
Right.
really like cover like, and also we let our kids just go out, like, and like there, I mean, I don't know if that's the same as it was when you and I were little, that like, I mean, my dad was really cool in that he had a John Deere tractor that had one of those like those pull, what am I trying to say? Like the trailer on the back. So like
Yes.
there were a few years where he put hay in it and he would like ride us around. That was like maybe that was one year. I can't remember. But anyway, otherwise, my brother and I were walking around as 5-year-olds, just like, you know, waiting to get abducted. I don't know.
My God.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, never happened, thank God. But like, also, no offense, mom and dad. I think that was just normal. Like the 80s are a lot different than today. I mean, it's so different today though, like because it was so much fun back then. Obviously, I can say that because I was never abducted. But like now, it's like, kids who go trick or treating, they're trick or treating at like 1 p.m. the Sunday before Halloween. And like, I mean, I don't know. Yeah.
I just am trying to think of someone listening who maybe didn't grow up in the United States, listening to us talk about this, thinking like, okay, so Katie's family dressed her up in satin and sent her out into the streets to wait to get abducted, asking for candy. Okay, cool, got it.
Let's review. Like that's definitely a little suspicious. Yes. Yeah, it's weird. Trick or treating is weird. And it's like, it was so much fun though. When I was a kid, I absolutely loved it. It was like the best thing ever. Oh my gosh, I got free candy. What?
I know. Did we talk about this with Tanya? I know we talked about our favorite candies with Tanya. We have reviewed this
Oh, yes, that's right.
because I think we've talked about this maybe in past episodes, like the hierarchy. Like I would divide, I think we all did this, divide my candy into tiers of like, right? So top tiers like Snickers, Milky Way, right? Then,
Definitely. But then what's the next tier? Starburst?
oh,
Skittles?
yes, I was going to say, yes, fruit based.
Yes.
I would say like second tier chocolates, like weird things that I wasn't that into, but it's chocolate. And then
Yeah.
I feel like for me, third tier was just like Jolly Ranchers and Skittles. And
Jolly Ranchers, Skittles, and like reject candy bars. I can't think of like almond joy. What? Who eats that? That's like a 65-year-old candy. Like it's like
yes,
like four people in their 60s. No offense, anyone in their 60s, but really, does anyone actually like almond joy? What? How is that?
children.
Children? You're gonna choke on an almond? No, that's ridiculous. Yeah. Also, I vaguely remember when we would get like bags of cookies, like homemade cookies. And I do remember, I think at least once, maybe twice, that my mom would be downstairs looking at, like what we got with us. And I would be like, oh my gosh, Eric, to my brother, like, I got chocolate chip. And he's like, I got butterscotch. And my mom's like, you're not eating any of those.
Yeah,
It's like, you are not eating anything that someone made. Like, that is, yeah, that's not okay.
no,
So,
hard pass.
yeah, it's too dangerous. Although, it probably was delicious. I don't know.
That poor person. Did you in Michigan have Affy Tapple?
Affy Tapple? I don't.
Yes, it's a brand of tappy apple. I think it is the Chicago company, but they're called Affy Tapples.
Wait,
And
is it taffy? Apple
yes,
taffy?
yes. So it's an apple allegedly dipped in caramel and coated with peanuts, like
Oh,
like broken up peanuts, not like actual like halves of peanuts, but
yeah,
like
yeah.
yeah, peanut
I
dust.
I think so. And then you get it in one of those like hard plastic containers.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it comes on a stick.
I hate to say it, that would have been my third tier.
No.
That was, it would have. If someone gave that to me, I would have been like, I don't like stuff with nuts in it. Like just like I mean, that's not entirely true in terms of like Snickers. I'll do a Snickers. Almond Joy, no. But also like I like Three Musketeers, yes. Milky Way, yes. Caramello, hard pass. Disgusting.
Oh, yeah, no. Caramello. Again, also an old, I know, no offense to old people, also an old people. I feel like people didn't hand out Affy Tapples. This was the kind of thing that like you could buy around Halloween at the like Scholastic Book Fair.
Ah, got it.
Yeah, this was a seasonal treat. I'm thinking of it because I was in Michigan a couple weeks ago.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh. And there were like little kids on the side of the road with their mom selling any number of things. And I bought an Affy Tapple from them. And so I should not be eating that, but it was so delicious.
Was it delicious?
Oh yeah, it was so good.
Wow, I bet it would be really, really good. I mean, caramel is so good.
Yeah.
Do you ever? I always think there's a difference between people who say caramel and people who say caramel. I just this is a very weird tangent, but like not that there's anything wrong with anyone who says caramel, but I'm like, I feel like there's like you went to a boarding school if you say caramel. I don't know, or maybe you're British. I
Oh.
might cut this. Like,
Oh my God.
this is a random fucking tangent. We have a lot to cover today. But anyway,
Oh,
caramel versus caramel. Yeah, I don't know.
discuss.
Yeah. Do you ever hear people say caramel? Is that weird?
No.
No. Okay, good. I'm glad we're on the same page. Moving right along. Okay. So,
Mm.
yeah. Okay. Wait. So, this was also interesting. One thing I do want to say before we get back to the history is when I was growing up in Michigan, okay, so Halloween fun, kids, trick or treating, yada, yada. But the night before, they would call Devil's Night. And that was like a
Oh.
legitimately scary night. Like when, like, you weren't really allowed to go out. Like there was this idea that like people would break into people's houses, like not like not like my friend, like it's not like I would be doing that, but like if criminals were going to be out, they would be out on Devil's Night. Did you guys have anything like that?
Oh, no.
Oh,
No, not
really?
at all. Huh. No, I've never heard that before.
Oh, I wonder what that is. Hmm,
Oh.
no idea.
Like is your part of Michigan or your town like mostly like German or mostly one
I wish I
ethnicity?
knew. I mean, the town that I grew up in is all white and Catholic.
Okay.
That's what I would say. Yeah. And so maybe there's something there. I don't know. Devil's Night. Weird.
Never heard that.
Yeah. But it's also interesting, like this whole idea that like it was a Celtic thing, like back to what you were saying in terms of Halloween. And like one of the things that it said was that like November 1st was apparently in the Celtic tradition or the Celtic calendar. That was the first day of the year. And so like it was like this idea that like the dead and the living were kind of like intersecting the night before. It's fascinating.
It really is. Well, and I think part of why I'm so into this is this interrogation of these things that we completely take for granted. Trick or treating
Totally.
and costumes and pumpkins and all of it. Like all of it has roots in something. And I feel like we all just do it without thinking about why we're doing it. So it's so interesting to me. And also the influence of America on these things and as it came from Ireland. And of course, the influence of Christianity on these things, which brings us to the witches, I think.
I agree. This one, I I have a lot to say about witches. Like, and I also like feel like this is something that is not just for this episode. Like, I know we've talked about having people who identify as witches on, or like people who are specialized in this topic. Whew. Okay, so this came up for me recently, and I know I told you this off camera, I guess, or off the microphone, that I was recently invited to a coven of witches, like for
Yes.
real, in Bend. Yeah. So I have met this person. She's really, really cool. I really like her a lot. And we hit it off, and she invited me to her coven, which is apparently a group of witches. I hope that's not a derogatory term. She did not use it that way. And I was really intrigued. And I was like, that's interesting. Like, I don't know what that even really means. But it's so interesting, Karen, because like I told a lot of friends about this. And there are some friends who were like, ooh, cool. Like, let me know what it's like. But the majority of my friends were like, what the fuck are you talking about? And like, very just, I don't want to say that they were like, they were pretty resistant to it. They were just like, what
Oh.
does that mean? And like, here's the thing, if I'm being totally honest, I was a little resistant to it. I have not gone. I'm not sure if I'm going to go, but like, it was one of those things where she told me, she said, we cast spells, we do things like we, cast good spells, bad spells, we like bring in, spirits and all of this stuff. And I was like, wow, this is so interesting. And it just like caused me to question, like, what do I believe? Like, what do I mean, there's just so many ways you could take this conversation, but like, I really feel like it's not weird at all to identify as a witch. And I feel like this is something that like the more I talk to people about it, the more people are almost everyone I talk to is like, oh yeah, I have several friends who identify as witches. I have several friends who are Wiccan, who are, it's just an interesting concept that like is not mainstream enough that people are talking about it all the time without getting probably frankly persecuted or at least socially.
So fascinating. And I so want you to go. And I understand. I Part of it when you were describing this situation of being invited to it, it does sound like the setup of a horror movie. Do you know what I'm saying? Or like an episode, like the witch episode of like the Katie show, like where you get invited right to this thing. And it's just so I will acknowledge that like, okay, yes, there's that element to it. But I also find it fascinating. And I find it really interesting, this juxtaposition of people who identify as witches, people who practice it as a religion,
Mm-hmm.
people who are secular witches, and then of course the commodification of witchcraft, like just the full on like hashtag witchcraft trending on TikTok,
Yes.
witchcraft and Hocus Pocus 2 coming back out. It's just really is really interesting to me, which is I think another reason I was so into the history of this and looking at like really the roots of all of these things and how they've morphed over time.
I mean, I think it's fascinating. Like it's, in the teeny tiny bit of research that we've done, I mean, it's to put it in a sentence, I feel like we're living in the middle of like a I don't know. I think that I'm going to be too offensive when I say this, but I'm just going to say it like a burn at the stake moment right now.
Oh man.
Because like I mean, look at what happened to the Supreme Court. Like there's such a history of persecution against women, specifically women, and women who are sexually liberated, women who have their own ideas, women who are gathering in community with each other. Today, I spoke with someone who is part of an organization of women, 800 women who helped to put on Mardi Gras in New Orleans. Like, it's kind of amazing. Like, I had no idea that she did this. This is like one of my coaching clients. And she was like, oh, yeah, I was busy this weekend because, I was like, wait, what? 800 women? She's like, when's the last time, Katie, that you were in a room with 800 women? And I seriously sat there and I was like, never, probably. Like,
Right.
never. And there's a reason for that. Like, there's like, it's not that I'm like choosing not to, but that's, I mean, I don't know. There's so much misogyny that is like baked into our culture, and misogyny within women also. Like it's like, it's like I remember joining this co-working space in San Francisco that I've mentioned multiple times, the Hivery. And I remember one of my first ideas of it was like, oh God, it's all women. Like, what if everyone's like a catty bitch? I actually thought that, which is horribly embarrassing now. And thank God that the leader of the Hivery is like a super high vibration human who like it's not that at all. But even then, I'm like, that's my own innate misogyny against my own gender. What the fuck? And so anyway, it goes back, like you say, like it's really interesting to look at the history of it because I do think it is related to women. And one of the things that I was reading about was just like I mean, there's so much, but like it's, all of us know about like the same Salem witch trials. But before that, I'll just read this one part, between the years of 1500 and 1660, there was like a huge amount of hysteria in Europe on women who practiced witchcraft or like identified as witches. And during that time, more than 80,000 people were put to death in Europe, 80,000 women. And and then it said it's around 80% of them were women thought to be in cahoots with the devil and filled with lust. Dude.
Yeah. I mean, the other piece of that, of course, is that you could get suspected of being a witch if you were a healer, if you were a medicine woman, if you looked at people sideways, if you were outspoken, if you were a widow, if you never got married, if you crossed your neighbor. Like, they used it as this way to silence and murder powerful women or women who were outcasts or women who were different. And it's just so odd to me that we have like turned this into this like Salem is like a tourist attraction.
Oh, I know. I mean, I've never been, but
Right?
yeah,
Like,
it is.
I think it was the Boston Globe like last week had this story about like this was one of their biggest years ever. I think because of Hocus Pocus too, but like this tiny town is overrun with all these tourists. And it's just like, this is like a really bloody, terrible thing that happens. Like, I know the stat you just said was about Europe, but we've just turned it into this like, we've just completely erased how like bloody and terrible and violent and misogynistic this all is.
Totally. That's fascinating about Salem and the tourism. That's not surprising to me at all with like the consumerism of like everything in the US. And it really like this bothers me. Like this whole idea that like we can't identify as we want to identify, period. Like, and it's like if it's witch, if it's anything else, it's like, even now there's such a focus on, like, I know I mentioned this before we hit record, but like this focus on like in terms of healing medicine, like that Western medicine is the right way. And like I think there are some people who believe that like, oh, I guess I'll try acupuncture, but I don't know. Does it really work? I'm not sure. And it's like, okay, I'm not saying that acupuncture is witchcraft in any way, but like I'm saying that like there are alternative ways of thinking about things that some of them could be looked at in the form of like in that realm.
Absolutely. Well, and it's one of those interesting things too. We talked about this a little bit, like what we're willing to believe and what we suspend our disbelief around and what we don't.
Yeah.
And I won't get super into it here, but I mean, just think about the things that we completely accept as fact and the things that we question and the sources of those things. Like, oh, if the government tells us this, well, I mean, the government during certain areas of time tells us something, we believe it. But if a doctor in another country who, oh, by the way, happens to be right, says it, then it has to be wrong. And it's exactly like you're saying. Like, I feel like we believe pharmaceutical companies, but we don't believe cultures that believe that all healing comes from the earth.
Yes.
Like, that is fascinating to me. Like, it was made in a lab, you'll take it. It's food-based medicine or it's a plant-based medicine and you want nothing to do with it. Okay, fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. And it's like I have so many friends who they go to acupuncturists and they get herbal supplements like that are made from the earth, and their partners or sometimes their friends kind of chastise them like, aha, that's so funny. Like, like you're taking your blah 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 herb. And it's like, no, that's been around a lot longer than your pharmaceutical drug. Like there's
Yep.
yeah. There's this other piece that I had read while we were doing this research, and it's called Are Witches the Ultimate Feminists? And I thought it was so interesting. And it's basically based on this woman's book, Kristen Soley. I hope I'm not mispronouncing it, but she wrote this book called Witches, Sluts, Feminists, Conjuring the Sex Positive and the Witch. Yeah, it's just really, really interesting. And basically it's about like how now I'm losing my train of thought. Oh, it's about like how, yeah, that like witches, sluts, and feminists embody the potential for self-directed feminine power and sexual and intellectual freedom, and basically linking it because I think this came out right around Hillary Clinton losing the election, and talking about how Hillary has been treated like a witch, and by treated like a witch, literally treated like a witch. Like people have called her a witch. Like, Rush Limbaugh has called her a witch. Like, Bernie Sanders said, burn the witch. Like, he literally said, burn the witch to Hillary Clinton. Like, this is a few years ago. Like, this is not. And it's like now we're fighting for reproductive freedom. And I do think that these are all connected. And I know I'm like kind of hopping all over the place, but I'm really upset about it.
I agree. I do think it is all connected. And I mean, it reminds me of the signs that I saw at the Women's March those 2 years. Was it 2017, 2018? I am the descendant of the witches you couldn't burn. Or,
Oh,
I mean,
fuck yeah.
oh, I saw so many of those. It's so good. But yes, this idea that like this is power that's passed down through women, which I feel like obviously people are really intimidated by. And yes, strong women are witches, and I'm totally fine with that.
Same. I am so fine with that.
Yeah.
And I also think, like, segueing into another topic that we've talked about, like, that Gen Zs are really fine with that. Like, it seems like that generation, like the younger generation, they're embracing this more than more than anyone, at least in our lifetime.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting too, because I feel like that's when I mean, I'm being cynical about it, but that's when I think about the consumerism of it and the commodification of it. That's what I'm talking about. But I do really appreciate like the interest in crystals and tarot and nature worship and burning candles and burning incense and energy work and sage. And, I think that I very much appreciate. And I'm really happy that more people are having conversations about those things and hopefully getting their parents interested in some of those things, because some of it is really helpful. And energy work is really does work. It totally works. Everybody knows it works, but we don't think of it that way.
Totally, totally. And it is interesting about the consumerism. And it's interesting how, like, what you're saying, that, like, it's becoming more mainstream to go into a shop, truly a shop of all type, like maybe even like Paper Source, like anything that's even that like mainstream, and you see like a rose quartz, and it's like, oh, carry this around. It has a little, like, placard next to it, and it's like, carry this around in your pocket if you want to feel centered. And it's like, I butt into that shit. And like, I carry stuff around. I have a ton of friends who carry different like crystals around with them. And it's interesting to me because it's like that and tarot and, like being in, like saging your house when something bad happens and that kind of stuff. That seems like it's acceptable almost. But then talking about witches, it's like, wait, what? Like I don't know, there's still like a jump there.
No, totally. And I mean, I think I've talked about on the pod. I went through a particularly difficult period of work, and I wore a crystal in my bra for 6 months.
Oh my
Like
God.
every day next to my heart, I wore this crystal, and the thing that I wanted to happen did happen.
Did it really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Karen,
No, totally.
this is totally a thing.
I got it from Jenny at Lena Rose in Chicago, Green Beauty Salon. And yeah, totally works. I
I
mean,
mean, that's real. It is. It's real. And it's like we talk about manifesting on this podcast all the time. Like, what's the difference between like casting spells and manifesting? Tyler, when I was invited to the coven, he's like, "Well, what if you cast a bad spell?" And I was like, "Well, I don't really know what that means. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't want anyone to get hurt. That's the thing. It's like there's this vision of like witches hurting people, and I don't know if that's entirely accurate. Like, yeah.
yes, exactly. Yeah, people just want to attribute the bad things that happen to someone. Like, oh, my crops died. It must be you, unmarried lady. You put a spell on my crops. Now we have to kill you. Now we have to burn you at the stake, right? Like,
I mean, seriously. And the other thing is, it's like when you think about the unmarried lady being a witch, like that was, my guess is that that was turned into the word spinster. And then now it's like, you can't really say that anymore, but people do. And it's like, but it, like, I just feel like that's so fucked up to think that like women, there's anything wrong with a woman, period. Like that is just so unfair. And it's just,
I will tell you, I have a cousin who lives in Kentucky, and she bought her condo. I mean, this was maybe, let's call it like 15 years ago.
yeah.
She bought her condo in Louisville, and it had a line for marital status. And because she was unmarried, it said spinster. on her
No, it did
paperwork. Yes,
not.
it did.
This was 15 years ago?
Oh yeah, I mean within, let's call it maybe. No, it had to have been less than 20. But yeah. No, this was like in modern day history, like a contemporary of ours. It said spinster on her paperwork.
So it would have had a married box and then a spinster box.
Yes.
God. I mean,
Yeah. So
that is
because your worth as a woman is determined by your marital status. So
correct. Yes. Yeah. Oh gosh. This is tip of the iceberg on this stuff. Like I'm so interested in talking with someone about this. I also am kind of a left turn on this topic a little bit, but like, and it's not that I don't believe in witches, that's not what it is at all, but like, do you believe in ghosts, Karen? Because like I have never had this conversation with anyone up until about 10 years ago, and I was shocked by how this went. I mean, how I don't want to put you on the spot if you don't want to talk about it, but
oh, I totally believe in ghosts,
do
Katie.
you really?
Oh yeah, no, I completely believe in ghosts. Yeah.
Like can you I don't even know what to ask.
So the New York Times has a really interesting story about ghosts.
Really?
I don't know if it's just recirculated. They also had a really interesting story during the pandemic about people, and it was completely matter of factly written. People sharing their homes with ghosts during the pandemic, like people in lockdown who realized they had ghosts because they were home all day.
Wow.
In the New York Times. Like I said, completely written without judgment, but was just like, Karen Hawkins lives in Chicago, whatever. And it was like people describing these inexplicable things in their lives and realizing like, oh yeah, no, okay. There's a spirit in the house and it's doing things.
That's
Because it would be
so
in
fascinating.
response to things. Yeah, it was really, and it was just like the spirits were mad because they were in the house.
Oh, really? Oh, the spirits were mad.
Yes, sometimes it was just like annoyance around certain, like if they moved things. It was just like really interesting. But yes, I definitely believe in ghosts.
This is so fascinating. I think the jury's out for me because I never thought about it. I've never thought about it up until about 10 years ago, where a close friend of ours, they were moving across the country and they were struggling a lot to find a house that they could, live in. And they finally found this house and they were like a day away from going under escrow. And there was this side comment from the real estate agent that was like, oh, by the way, there's this really friendly ghost because this is like they live on the East Coast and it's like in the middle of New England, like a ton of ghosts in these houses that like had to do with, the Revolutionary War and stuff like that. And my friend was like, what? Wait, huh? And the real estate agent's like, oh no, it's fine. Like the ghost is really friendly. Here's the name, whatever. And my friend Mary was like, no, I'm shutting it down. And she pulled out of the deal. And her husband Max he was so angry. Like he was like, you're kidding. Like you're like for real, like over a ghost. And she's like, absolutely not. And so she would not budge. Like it was like an absolute non-starter, like not even a conversation. And then they found another house and it was fine. But like that conversation, I remember her calling me and she's like, can you believe this? They wouldn't have disclosed that there was a ghost in the house before. And I remember thinking at the time, like, huh? Like I was like so confused because I truly had never had a conversation with anyone about ghosts being like in existence, like that ever being a thing, truly. And so it was just very, very shocking to me. And then, but at the same time, I'm open to the idea because I definitely think there are so many unexplained things. And I also believe very strongly in people who have crossed over sending signs or being with you. And it's like that's stuff that I cannot dispute. Like I've personally experienced it all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't, and I don't know that I've ever had any personal experience with ghosts, but I know people who have.
Really?
Yeah. My college roommate had an electricity ghost. Like radios that were unplugged would come on.
Whoa.
Yeah. Like she just, and that's the way she referred to it. And so, yes, I completely believe in it. And now I know what I was going to say. I have taken there's a Chicago ghost tour. There are many Chicago ghost tours because we have many famous ghosts in Chicago.
Oh, really?
Yes. We took a bus tour. Yeah. For a friend's like bachelorette party. And Yeah, I mean, I feel like the historic hotels in Chicago are all haunted. Like
Mm-hmm.
I think I just take it for granted that, like, yes, of course that's a thing.
Yeah. I guess I don't know why I need like more validation. Like that seems ridiculous. I don't need validation on anything else. Like that doesn't even make sense. Now tonight I'm gonna be like visited by a ghost of this house. Like
Oh gosh.
I
No, it's gonna be totally fine.
it's interesting. It's just I think I have like such an aversion to like scary movies and anything scary that's why I just can't even think about it. But then again, ghosts don't need to be scary.
Exactly.
Hmm. This is very interesting.
I
Well,
need
please.
oh, kind of along the lines of ghosts, this is something I also did not know, is that Halloween, the origins of that word are Hallows Eve,
Oh
right?
yeah. All Hallows
And
Eve, is that what it is?
yes, and also that Celtic word that I can't say, but that in countries all over the world, probably in more countries than not, November 1st is All Saints Day. It's a
Oh
public
yeah.
holiday all over the world, and that it's this day that you honor your dead. And I know about Dia de los Muertos, but I didn't realize how widespread this practice was of that being a day that people celebrate or mark, or like that it's an observance of something. I'd never really understood that.
I don't think I understood that either. And yes, the Celtic festival, Samhain, I guess is how you say it. Even though it doesn't look like that at all, that was how it was pronounced on the History Channel's website. I don't know,
Sure.
but yes, that's yeah. But All Saints Day, what is it called? Is that what it's called? You said
I
All
think it's All
Saints Day.
Saints Day.
So that's November 1st. I
Mhm.
love that idea so much about having a day when you honor the dead because I feel like in the US, someone dies and you don't talk not everyone talks about the people in their lives that have died.
Yeah.
There's not like a
And like,
place for that.
exactly. And some cultures do have that. And you go to the cemetery and you have dinner there, or you hang out and have a party. Like, I do really appreciate that.
I really appreciate that too. I have a friend who is Mexican and she had a Dia de los Muertos. I'm not saying it right. Am I?
Muertos? Sure.
Muertos party a couple years back and she wanted the RSVP super early and I was like, "Okay." And she was like, "Just so you know, everyone is required to bring a picture of like a loved one who has passed and you're going to talk about that person in community with everyone
Mm.
else. That's the point. That's like this is a very structured thing." And it was so interesting because I was like, well, we have to go to this, obviously. Like, this is such a cool experience. And so I brought a picture of my grandmother. Tyler brought a picture of his grandfather. And it was such a cool thing because it was a bunch of people I'd never met. And we all sat around and there were candles everywhere and there were masks everywhere. It was so beautiful. And everyone had their pictures up, almost like a shrine, really. And so it was like basically just like pass the conversation from person to person, but everyone was really quiet. And so you really only by quiet, I mean only the person that was talking about the person that they had lost was talking. And so by the end of everyone telling the story of whoever's picture they brought, we all knew each other so much better. And there was no shitty combo about like, oh, where do you live? What do you do? Like it was like about like real stuff. It was amazing.
Oh, that sounds so, so cool and so meaningful.
Totally. And it wasn't sad. It was actually like really cool. Like it wasn't like, let's all cry about this stuff. Like it was like, oh, this is a really funny story about this person or this person. Like it was really cool. It's like, I want to do that. I want to do that here.
Damn, I wish we'd look this up more because I
I
want to know
know,
more about
same.
it. But I love that you've been to that party and had
It
that
was
experience.
it was really cool. And it's like just thinking about Halloween and like how there are ties to all of these things. And like, I wonder if we could rebrand Halloween as like, or maybe the day after the All Saint, like, let's bring All Saints Day back to the US or like, let's just do it. Like, I guess we can do it in our own communities.
Absolutely. Yes, I would love to do that.
I would love to do that too. And it's like, it's not weird to talk about the people who have died. Like, there should be a day every year when we do that. Like, that's so humane.
It's how you keep them alive. You keep their memories alive. They're alive in all of us. I love that idea.
I love that idea too. Okay, Karen. Well, this has been really fun. I feel like I came in
Thank
real
you.
hot on the witch thing.
And
Yeah.
stay tuned. I do think we're going to have a conversation with a witch. And I think we've also talked about getting tarot readings.
Yes, I would love that.
So yes, stay tuned. I'm into all of it.
I'm into all of it too. All right. Well, thanks everybody. We'll see you next week.